From KCRW in Santa Monica and PRI, Public Radio International, this is To the Point.
Superstorm Sandy and FEMA. President Bush replaced Michael Brown as FEMA administrator with David Paulison, who is now with the Command Consulting Group that deals with security and intelligence. He joins us from Florida. David Paulison, good to have you on our program.
Good to be here, Sergeant. Good to be here.
What's your take so far on what FEMA has been doing in the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy? I guess I should say before and after. Excuse me. Go ahead.
I think they're doing a very good job. Well, what the president has done is invoked actually a policy we put in place after Katrina, which is using the disaster relief fund to do a pre-landfall declaration. We put those in place, and what that allows FEMA to do is pre-position supplies, as you heard earlier, move urban search and rescue teams in, move ambulances. If they have to use evacuation buses, things like that, allows them to spend money out of the disaster relief fund. So I disagree with Mike Brown. I agree with Craig Fugate that the FEMA has moved quickly, has turned into a more of a proactive organization instead of a reactive. And we learned from Katrina that's what we have to do when we have these catastrophic events. So I've been very pleased with the response. I think it's a right response. I think Governor Christie is right on target. Just put presidential politics aside. Let's put partisan politics aside. Let's just do the right thing for the people and the businesses and the cities out there.
Craig Fugate came from Florida, just like you. He was an appointee initially of Jeb Bush, the Republican governor there.
Craig Fugate was our emergency manager in Florida. Did a great job down here. Worked under Jeb Bush, and he did. Governor Bush. There was a wise choice keeping him on when he became governor, and also Governor Christie kept him on. I was very pleased to see him take that job in Washington. We kind of set the bar pretty high from now on. I think you'll always see a experienced emergency manager taking that FEMA position, and not just somebody who's involved in the politics.
I understand that at one point, Mr. Fugate in Florida had to handle something like 4 hurricanes in 6 weeks.
And he did a great job. FEMA worked very closely with him. It's actually a partnership. The governors are in charge, the mayors are in charge, and FEMA is there really to help them get their job done, make sure they've got the right supplies and all the tools they need. We had actually had a very good partnership with Craig Fugate and Governor Bush when I was in FEMA. And also, they just, Florida has its act together. They deal with these disasters all the time, and Craig has become a very good emergency manager.
You said that when you replaced Michael Brown as the head of FEMA, appointed by President Bush, you made a lot of changes. What principally were they?
There were two main changes, and one we've talked about already, and that was changing the culture of FEMA from a reactive organization to a proactive organization. We saw very clearly that systematic failure that we had set up, where we wait for a state to become overwhelmed before the federal government steps in, and the state waits for the local government to become overwhelmed before they step in. That doesn't work. That's a sequential failure system had to be changed. So we put that policy in place to be much more proactive, getting the military involved early on, NORTCOM and others like that, and by using those resources, that allowed us to get ahead of the curve, and we're not behind the curve like we were in Katrina. The second piece was making sure that the people we had managing FEMA, managing the organization, had the experience to do that. We were bringing in managers with 25 and 30 years experience dealing with disasters. That sent a clear message to our employees that we were serious about rebuilding the organization. And Administrator Fugate has done the same thing. He has surrounded himself with experienced people who know how to deal with disasters. And that's the telltale difference in what we saw from pre-Katrina to what we're seeing right now.
David Paulison, once again, former director of FEMA, second director of FEMA during the administration of George W. Bush. In Florida this morning, Mitt Romney repeated his call for all Americans to come together in the aftermath of the storm.
If you have an extra $1 or $2, send them along and keep the people who have been in harm's way, who've been damaged either personally or through their property, keep them in your thoughts and prayers.
Now, Democrats are accusing Romney of proposing to privatize FEMA because of this comment that he made during one of the Republican primary debates.
Absolutely. Every time you have an occasion to take something from the federal government and send it back to the states, that's the right direction. And if you can go even further and send it back to the private sector, that's even better.
Let me go back to David Paulison, the former director of FEMA. How do you interpret that statement by Mr. Romney?
Well, I think that I don't want to interpret what he said necessarily, but I will say that this country needs a strong FEMA. It needs a strong homeland security. There are simply things that the states do not have the resources to do, and FEMA is a backup to that. The states should be the number one priority. They're the ones that are in charge. They should be the one setting the resources down first. But there's going to be a point, like we're seeing exactly right now, where it's beyond the capacity of the states to handle. And that's what FEMA is for. That's what the Stafford Act was set up for. What we need to make sure, though, is make sure that they're at that point, that it is going to exceed the capacity of the state, and FEMA is not necessarily taking the lead. The state should take the lead, and FEMA should be there to make sure those resources are there, that we can to make sure that the cities and individuals have what they need to get back on their feet again.
All right. To Mr. Paulison.